This is the weekend edition of Fear and Greed, daily business news for people who make their own decisions. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael. A bit frustrated this morning.
Why's that?
Oh, because, we get into the studio early. It's a Saturday morning, and you and Adam carry on so much before we actually get to start the show that we're always late. And I'm just over it.
Bit excited.
Enough.
I'm speechless. All I want to do is get going, and here you are just prattling on. I want to finish my introductory spiel here because I wanted to just remind everyone that our weekend show is about the two of us nominating what we think is the biggest business story of the week, the most remarkable business story, a sleeper business story, and our favourite business story. I like how I really emphasise the business element of it this time because I've gone very businessy stories this time. There's none of this...
It's disappointing.
None of this business adjacent rubbish that you have done in the past, Sean. Now, it is a competition, which is why the sledging began early, right off the top. We need a judge to pick a winner, and that judge is our Fear and Greed colleague, Adam Lang. Adam, good morning.
Good morning, Michael. Good morning, Sean.
Morning, Adam. Thanks for being so quick before the show this morning. Thanks for not talking about the Swans last night. Thanks for not talking about your trip to Albury on the weekend. Thanks for not talking about what you wear. Thanks for not talking about your 40-year-old Kindle. Thanks.
Adam, I hope you're making a note of this. I hope you're making a note of the fact that Sean is being unkind.
I am.
What are you looking for? Very quickly, what are you looking for in today's judging?
Okay.
Didn't mean to roll my eyes when I said judging then. That was an accident.
We want stories that are topical and timely, obviously have economic impact, that play a little bit to my subjective bias, ideally, and with a good sprinkling of melodrama.
Isn't there one missing?
Is there?
So I never really listened to your category. But when you just said it then, I thought, that sounds a bit different.
4 years, Sean, I've been saying this.
Anyway, talking about time, let's get into it, fellas.
Biggest story of the week. Sean, what is it?
Given I've sworn off economics as the biggest story for the rest of the year in an effort to help a clearly dispirited and, dare I say, sometimes inept Michael.
Jesus.
I'm not doing the labour force figures. Not that it really matters, because all that unemployment stuff wasn't the biggest story of the week.
I feel a stitch-up coming on here.
Well, it wasn't. Nothing happened. Nothing changed.
Get on with it.
Ask any investor what the biggest story of the year is, and they'll say interest rates, especially what's happening in the US. And this week, we had, back in your box, we had the Federal Reserve take the plunge, jump over the edge, tip their toe into the water, whatever the saying is, and cut the official benchmark rate by 50 basis points. Massive markets story. First time in 4 years. Alleluia. Rates are on the way down. The build-up and the eventual decision had huge ramifications for markets around the world, but let's look local. The S&P ASX 200 hit a record 4 days in a row. When did that last happen, eh? Never. Well, I've got no idea whether it's ever happened before, but not for a long, long time. The Aussie dollar back above 68 US cents just when I've decided not to travel to the US. There you go. It's been a couple of years since the currency stayed above the 68 cent level for a period. Gold prices, well, isn't it shining? Touched $2,600 US an ounce. Gold's a store of value and a good asset to have in rough times. So holding gold in a falling interest rate environment might be a good idea because maybe the economy is going to the clappers, or it's good to hold when rates are just falling anyway. So people love gold at the moment. Investors are recalibrating because interest rates in the US are falling, even if they aren't doing much locally. Easily the biggest, most influential, most topical, most timely, most subjective bias, most melodramatic story, most economic impact story of the week, Michael.
Interest rates.
Michael, your story, please.
Economics. You said you... Okay. You know what?
What, Michael?
You know what?
What?
I am going to start this show today the way I usually end it.
Oh, saying goodbye?
No, with a dummy spit. With a dummy spit.
Okay.
I was going to talk about the Fed cutting rates today, and I thought I was going to have exceptionally clear air to do it. I thought I was free.
Did Sean sell you the dummy?
Considering Sean said he would never do economics again, not for the rest of the year.
I did markets.
You said you would never do economics again, which was another dummy spit actually a few weeks ago, one from you, right? So there's there's a running theme here of dummy spits. So am I surprised to hear Sean doing an economics story again? Of course I am, because you said you weren't going to, but also I'm not surprised because you love to win and you will do things like this, dodgy things. You've left me with one option, jobless figures. Here we go. Labour force numbers.
Sorry, can you do that again?
Well, you're not exactly selling it in, Michael.
Yeah.
Labour force. I'm not selling it in because what we are dealing with here, gentlemen, is a farce. Labour force numbers that showed 47,500 jobs were created last month. That's higher than expected. Big whoop. After all, the unemployment rate stayed exactly the same, 4.2%. A lot of those jobs were part-time. I could try, Adam, right now, I could try to tell you.
My ears are burning. The voice is so loud at the moment, Adam.
I could try to tell you that this is the biggest story of the week.
Lend me your ears.
But it's not.
Oh.
Let's just be honest here. Because the Reserve Bank is going to look at this unemployment number and say, oh, well, the economy's still creating jobs. It's not exactly tanking or anything. We don't need an emergency rate cut. Better leave rates on hold. It is clear to me as an entirely objective observer, mind you, that the biggest story from a business news perspective this week is the Fed cutting rates, which I was going to do because Sean had said he was never going to do economics again. Therefore, I demand that Sean Aylmer be disqualified and his points awarded to me. And if not, I think it's only fair that I get half of his points because of this little swifty that he has pulled on me today. I believe in you, Adam, and I know that you have the ability and the capacity and the willingness to do what is right.
Do you know what it sounds like, Michael?
A dummy spit?
A capitulation.
It absolutely is.
So, Adam, I've got an idea though, Adam.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Out of the generosity of my heart, I win, but I'm going to donate my point.
I don't want you to donate it to me.
I'm going to donate it. So, notwithstanding I won, Michael is leading 1-0. Yes,
Righto.
yes. Because honestly, in terms of melodrama and just the pure effort of coming out and saying, no, my story is crap, surely he deserves something for that. So no, he doesn't.
He did give it all, didn't he?
He did. Certainly in the points, mark him down, right? So when it comes to the points, I don't want any. But 1 to Michael, 0 to me. I'm still very confident, shall we say that?
I don't want your pity point.
Too late, Michael. You have it.
No. I want the point. I don't want it awarded through pity. Adam, I want you to strip it from him most violently, and I want you to give it to me because I deserve it.
Okay.
Okay, good. It's 1-0.
But in an OH&S safe kind of way, you know.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, this is I feel like I've used up all my melodrama early.
Oh, I doubt it.
You're sweating.
I am a little bit. I better just disrobe.
Oh, Michael, not in the studio, please. I know, but the t-shirt you've got underneath it, that's what's disturbing.
Yeah.
I thought those Ken Dunn t-shirts went out of fashion years ago.
Can you two...
Genuine 1980s wear.
Fido Dino.
Is it hypercolour, Michael?
This is a business show. Can we please talk about some business news?
Righto.
Your most remarkable story, Michael. Tell me that.
I think it is remarkable, right? The way that the federal government has managed to pick fights with pretty much everyone, right? It is, right? It is at war with the unions at the moment over the forced administration of the CFMEU, and it's battling the business community over industrial relations reform and a bunch of other stuff. And both of these fights, mind you, both of these fights came to a head this week, right? So they've been bubbling along for ages, many weeks. But this week, they came to a head, both of them. Okay, put that in the timeliness and the topicality column, which should be one column. Let's start with the CFMEU. 60,000 construction workers in an unauthorised rally, and a very, very, very colourful one at that, despite preliminary findings earlier in the week by former counsel for the Independent Commission Against Corruption, Geoffrey Watson SC, that bikies and organised crime figures had infiltrated the union. The blame was going to the government, who put the CFMEU into administration. The blame is going to the media, who investigated the alleged crime and corruption at the union, basically to anyone but those who had actually allegedly done the wrong thing. And the language the union was using.
Be still my beating heart.
No, the language they were using at this rally. Goodness me.
Little raw.
This is a
little raw.
This is a family show, so I cannot possibly repeat it. Can you imagine, though, if this is a family show, what those families would have made of Sean's disgraceful behaviour in the first story, kind of cheating on the economics?
Now, I'm trying to remember, who was it? It's someone quite high profile that said he listens to us in the car with his kids.
Well, there's a couple of different people. There are actually a number of. There was one.
Brand Black.
Well,
someone related to your story, Michael. That's where we're going here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, there's a couple of different people. One who listens with his family in the car on the weekend.
Poor kids. That's unfair on the children.
Indeed.
But go on.
And then there is another listener who does occasionally listen to us, and I hope he's listening to us right now. Because I want to talk as well about the business community, because obviously the union movement isn't happy with the federal government at the moment. Then, the business community. We had Prime Minister Anthony Albanese fronting a Business Council of Australia dinner this week. And special shout out to Brown Black, the chief executive of the Business Council, who is an occasional listener.
And his children.
And his children, if they are listening as well. There is a lot of buzz at the moment within the business community, and I hear it. Because while I am the man of the people, I'm also tapped into the big end of town, you know, and what I'm hearing is that business isn't happy with the government. I can't even say this with a straight face. It's over industrial relations reform primarily. But the Prime Minister is quite insistent that everything's okay. He says the 5 areas that the Business Council cite as needing attention, kind of housing, cost of living, the care economy, net zero and skills, they're all being addressed by the government. So, well, I guess that's okay then. Bran, nothing to worry about there. Everything is under control. Nothing to see here. I tell you what, it is absolutely remarkable that the government is in this position, just a handful of months out from a likely election, fighting with traditional allies, the union movement, fighting with traditional enemies, big business. In fact, the only thing that Labor isn't doing right now, which is quite remarkable, is fighting with itself, which in itself is quite an extraordinary event. That is remarkable.
Well, yeah, but remember yesterday, I don't want to add to your story in any way, shape or form, but yesterday there was all that hoo-ha, dare I say, about the Productivity Commission report, and some of the backbenchers, I think it was the Victorian Labor MP Michelle Anandaraja, who's talking about spending another $5 billion on subsidies, was propping up a failed system. So not that I want to add to your story, Michael, but they're fighting within themselves as well.
I welcome your contribution, Sean, and I'm not sharing my points. Adam. No, actually, I've already invited Adam's judgment.
Do I get a chance?
No, you don't get a chance. I just need to win. Sean, what have you got?
Look, my only comment on that, Michael, I mean, good effort. You're doing your best. You're trying hard. But that governments fight with everyone all the time. That's what their job is. Don't they?
No.
What's really remarkable is the fact that domestic economy airfares have jumped 12% since the demise of Rex. That's just a couple of months. That's according to the Bureau of Infrastructure, Transport and Regional Economics. Annualise that, right? You get an inflation rate for airfares of 48%. In fact, it's 50% if you take the decimal point in. 50% annual rate rise inflation. Come on, airfare people out there. You need to do better. To add salt to the wound,
Hang on,
Qantas has
airfare
increased...
people?
Yes, there are a bunch of airfare people out there, Michael.
Is that the people within the airlines that set the prices?
Yes, those sort of strategy people. Yeah,
Dynamic
all
pricing.
those.
Oh,
Yield management.
Go on.
This is totally unrelated. My all-time favourite Simpsons line is when Marge is going to jail and Homer's talking to her and says, Marge, I'm really going to miss you. And it's not just the sex, it's the food preparation as well.
Oh, God.
I don't know why that came up in my mind just then. I think when you went,
This is a family show. Think of Brand Black's children.
Anyway, to add salt to the wound, Qantas has increased the cost of changing a ticket by 20%. Now, the Bureau says that the cheapest airfares are up 12.5% since July. Full-priced tickets are up 12.3%. Business class airfares are relatively stable over the last quarter, but they're 12% higher than a year ago. This is ridiculous. I mean, this is competition. This demonstrates how competition works in the market. In fact, it's a remarkable example of what happens when competition leaves the market. Because remember, we also had Bonza fail. Now, Rex is still flying, but not on that high-demand Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne routes. It's absolutely outrageous. An annualised inflation rate of 50%. Now, having said all that, not to diminish my story in any way, airfares are now 93.6% of the long-term average, meaning that they're actually still below average. But it doesn't diminish from the incredible rise since competition left the market. Truly remarkable. Adam, a sensible story, concise.
No, it wasn't.
Interesting.
Barely.
So both are remarkable. Particularly in Canberra, the Business Council of Australia dinner was a bit of an arena for the spectacle of conflicts between business and the Labor government. And the fact that the CFMEU had 60,000 demonstrating again this week. It's incredible.
Do you reckon that the language they use actually helps their cause?
No. I think it just reinforces bad images of the CFMEU, the threatening behaviour and personalisation of things rather than dealing with the issues. I really think it's deconstructive.
Which is a nice pun for the building industry.
Thank you. The domestic airfares, that obviously impacts lots and lots of people, as does construction and other things. But I think the fresh news this week in its remarkability was that very quick increase in pricing post-Rex's closure of that triangle between Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. And so that is incredibly fast and just shows you what supply can do to dynamic pricing and how it disaffects our price of travel. So I think that actually has to win for Remarkable Story of the Week.
I'm sorry.
Oh, this is beautiful. Adam.
As a former yield manager, I may be slightly biased.
Nonsense. This is BS. Oh, so what are we? 1-1.
1-1, half time.
1-1. And my first point was entirely legitimate. Okay, let's take a quick break and come back and find a sleeper story of the week. All right, Sean, we are looking for a sleeper story. Now, a sleeper story is, of course, a story that's flying under the radar a little bit, not getting the attention that we feel it deserves, or is going to become a bigger story further down the track. Would you like to go first?
I would like to go first because I've got a great sleeper story. It's how many free trade deals or similar deals the federal government has done with different countries, as highlighted by a deal this week with the United Arab Emirates, the UAE. Trade between the two countries is worth just under $10 billion. Not huge, but under the deal, 99% of Aussie products will be able to enter the UAE without paying tariffs. We're talking alumina, meat, dairy, oilseeds, seafood, steel, canola seeds, nuts, don't know what type, honey, coal, chickpeas, lentils, and higher education. UAE is our biggest Middle East trading partner. We buy furniture, copper wire, glass containers, plastic from them. It'll also make it easier for skilled Australians to temporarily work in the UAE. Now, the prize in all this, though, might actually be a $30 billion US, 40 billion Aussie dollar climate-focused investment vehicle, which the UAE unveiled last year. It wants to shift into greener minerals. And, of course, we have plenty of those. So this FTA might open the way for that. Now, the UAE deal makes it the 19th free trade or cooperation agreement in place over recent years. So free is a very nebulous term in some of these. I mean, we have a bunch of deals: Chile, India, New Zealand, UK, US, Hong Kong, China, etc., Japan, Korea, Peru, Thailand. There's also a deal with countries in the region, like the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. That's the local countries in our region. For years, governments around the world tried these massive multilateral trade deals. When I was going through university, everyone was talking about these multilateral trade deals. Getting kind of 50 countries to agree on something, almost impossible. They've gone out of favour. These two-way deals, the bilateral deals, is what we're doing. And Australia's doing a really good job of signing countries up. This is both governments, previous government, this government. We haven't been totally successful. We've never been able to do a deal with the EU. But still, we're reducing or removing barriers to trade and investment with a lot of countries around the world. That gives Australian business and investors a competitive edge. Australian governments have done pretty well on it. We're just not talking about it because there are so many smaller deals being done. And I think it's a great sleeper story because it actually will boost the economy for decades to come. Michael.
It's a good story. Kind of nodded off in the middle there, but it was a good story. The sleeper story. Look, okay, we talk about sleeper story. I feel bad, kind of. You've done such a straight kind of businessy story. Oh, yeah, it's good. It's got a bit more colour to it. We talk about sleeper stories as
so yours is more interesting than mine? No, surely not. That never happens.
Impossible. Look, we talk about sleeper stories as the fuse having been lit during the week, and that was another excellent ruling from Tim Burrows.
You know, Tim's not the judge today. Adam is.
But he made some excellent decisions and some great rulings that I have clung to. Now, let me paint a picture for you. Just picture 2 boardrooms this week.
You're in dangerous territory already. Yes, boardrooms, go on.
In fact, the boardrooms of 2 major Australian companies sitting down for a meeting only to discover that item number 1 on the agenda is the Roy Morgan Trust Survey. It's all right. It's all right, they say. Last year we were in the top 3 brands. Sure, it'll be the same again this year. So the meeting starts. There's some bad news. They're not in the top 3. No, those spots are taken by Bunnings and Aldi and Kmart. In fact, these 2 companies have tumbled from their rankings last year. They're not in the top 3. They're not in the top 5. They're not even in the top 10. In fact, you've got to go to a different list altogether, the most distrusted brands, to find them. And there they are. Coles and Woolworths, sitting alongside Optus and Qantas and Facebook as the least trusted brands in Australia. Now, just picture those boardrooms again. The directors, Coles and Woolies, their faces white with shock. Someone might have even fainted, right? This is how significant this is. They are calling in the chief marketing officer. They're calling in kind of every executive they can think of to say, what is going on here? Because this is a travesty. This is a joke. This is ridiculous. And while the boardroom scenarios I've described are fictional, the trust survey is not fictional. The trust survey is entirely real and entirely legitimate.
What are you going on about?
I don't really know. This week we learned just how distrusted Coles and Woolworths have officially become
This week.
this week because this is when the survey came out. And the boss of Roy Morgan singled these two companies, these two businesses, these two brands that are synonymous with families, with grocery shopping.
Really? I'm not sure about families. I think they're synonymous with supermarkets.
Yes, but also they're a place that families go for quality time.
Oh my God, that's the last thing. That's
Anyway, the boss of Roy Morgan did have some interesting things to say. She said the high trust ratings for Aldi and IGA, they show that the distrust for the two majors, for Coles and Woolies, it's not industry-wide. It's not as though people have just turned on supermarkets. They have turned specifically on Coles and Woolies.
Rev it up, Mike.
Those brands specifically have become associated with price gouging. They've become associated with high profits. They have been associated now, unfortunately, and I feel for those boardrooms, with corporate greed. So I suspect that this report this week has triggered the lighting of a fuse. The fuse has now been lit, and you can hear it fizzing, hissing away. It has now been lit for a major campaign to restore trust, because they knew it was bad. They've known it was bad for a long time, but they did not know it was this bad. And the hunger, the absolute ravenous hunger at Coles and Woolworths to return to the top of the tree as the most trusted brands in Australia will be extreme. It will be intense. Mark my words. Watch this space. Stay tuned. Things are going to happen here. The fuse was lit this week, and it is going to be extraordinary. This is a sleeper story for the ages. Jesus Christ, I do not believe a single word I just said.
I'm not giving you the point on this one if I happen to win it.
I think I've got I definitely do have. I do believe what I said, and I think that Adam will too.
You're retracting your earlier statement.
No, I'm fine.
And I do believe what I just said.
I do.
Both of them are some of the parts stories in terms of sleeper stories. And I know that's chiefly part of the point. And did they reach that sort of tipping point this week? So free trade deals obviously are a great instrument. I think the federal government's actually been really busy on this front, including China, since they came to power. And it is changing our trading scenarios for the better. So to me, that is a really good sleeper story.
But
the trust index too, I find fascinating. The Michelle Levine made the announcement this week, and just how chronic some of those falls have been, including with Coles and Woolies. And you see like a brand like Telstra becoming less distrusted or improving up that index, but Aldi staying so strong, Bunnings staying so strong. And I think that's a great proxy for how customers feel about them, as brands, and there is a value in that.
Correct.
So I actually have to call it a dead heat on this one.
Oh, your face, Michael. That is, the funny thing about that is I thought Michael didn't have a chance of winning, and I thought it was a ridiculous story until Adam actually explained his take on it. I thought, actually, that's a much better story than Michael gave it credit for.
I sat down I'm going to do the trust survey. I'm like, how on earth do you do the trust survey as a sleeper story? I'm like, I don't know. I'll just make it up. It's a business news podcast.
I don't know if I helped or hindered, Michael, but that was my take.
Can I tell you, look, I think we might need a Mia mug here.
Oh, okay.
Because the Mia mug is obviously our most enthusiastic advocate. Got a note this week from a listener, Katrina. And she said, and I love it when listeners help me out. I feel as though I come across as quite a desperate, needy person. I need the help. And so Katrina has written to me on Instagram, and I'm eternally grateful for this, because she says, Michael, for sleeper story of the week for fear and greed, my suggestion is to have a listen to the interest rate interview that Sean did on Tuesday. This is with Rachel Wastel from Mozo.
Oh, yeah.
And she said the sleeper story could be Sean on his 2.19% fixed rate mortgage.
Not bad.
And the pitch change in his voice when there was a reference to a lower fixed interest rate with a bank that Sean had not heard of before.
Write that down.
and just this undercurrent of disgruntlement. That's my own word. That wasn't Katrina's. And anyway, I just thought that was good. I love anyone
That's a ripper.
who listens closely to these and thinks maybe there is something in there that I could use on the weekend edition. So thank you, Katrina. And I think that is worthy of a Mia mug, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
What a win.
Katrina also asked for an update on my lawn. She said also have
It is springtime,
she said
Michael.
also haven't heard about your lawn for a while. Coming into spring might be a good time to subtly mention at some point in Fear and Greed. I missed the subtly point. I missed that when I read her note the first time. I missed the subtly thing. Well, you know what, Katrina? I will do this subtly at some point in the coming week. I'll give a full update.
Can I, Katrina, thank you very much for the comment. My lawn, though, at the moment, I've spent a bit of time in the last couple of weeks, Michael. I've totally been transformed by you, and as I get older and more boring. And, so I put water on it, which I never thought you had to water a lawn. You do. And your little tip, which I didn't realise, is cut it regularly but not very short. And doesn't it come back? So the back lawn at the moment.
Lush.
Oh, absolutely lush until the kids on Wednesday decided to play golf on it and beat the crap out of it.
No.
But until that point, until that point, well, it was looking so good, I think. And they thought, oh, wow, that looks great. Let's go play golf on it.
It's like a fairway.
And hack it to pieces.
But anyway, thank you, Katrina, for the note, and we will send you out a Mia mug. And the Mia mugs, they've just been flying off the shelf.
They have.
Yeah,
they have.
It's great.
So it's 1.5 at the moment, I think, going into the favourite story.
Yes. Who's first on this one?
This would be you, Michael, wouldn't it?
Righto, Michael, go for it.
Okay. I'm going to bust out an old favourite this week.
No, that's a surprise.
Yeah.
Oh, do you ever stop? Just
It's the warm, supportive environment that you're used to, Michael.
Work from home.
Oh, come on.
Again?
Well, this is the week that it officially ended, Adam.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know.
Hang on. Does this include you, Michael?
Because we haven't seen you in the office much, Michael.
I know. Okay. If this is the week that, and I'm going to make the case that it is, that this is the week that the work from home revolution, as Sean, you called it this week, the work from home revolution officially ended. I have made that same declaration on at least 4 occasions now previously. But this week, I really, really mean it.
Oh, you're not joking this week?
No. All those other times I've been
Really,
a little bit half serious. This time I am deadly serious. One of the world's biggest employers, one of the largest employers of people in the world, has called time on people working from home in their pajamas, warming their feet under a cavoodle, hiding under their desk.
Called Maggie.
Is anyone in this room
It's very specific.
own a cavoodle?
Of the 3 of us.
I don't have a cavoodle. Do you?
I don't have a cavoodle.
What about Adam?
Huh.
Well, funnily you should say.
Oh, there you go.
As random chance would have it, I do.
What are the odds? Anyway, Amazon CEO Andy Jassy this week ordered Amazon staff back to the office full time from next year. Now, this is a company with around 1.5 million employees, 300,000 of which are corporate workers. So I'm assuming this relates specifically to all of them.
How many in Australia?
Many, Sean. Almost,
Right.
Too many for me to count. This is big, right? 300,000 corporate workers, 1.5 million employees, a trend-setting business. This is not big. This is huge. This is a seismic shift in the way we work. The usual naysayers came out. Of course they did. Atlassian, that of course they would oppose it. They've got this work from anywhere policy. I don't even know what it's called. It's the work from anywhere policy where you can work from anywhere. Probably didn't need to.
Is that why it's called work from anywhere?
Probably didn't need to clarify that, did I? But if you look beyond that, look to, say, companies like Tabcorp with new boss Gillan McLaughlin deciding to, quote, reset the business with a return to the office for its 1,000 workers. So he's identified that in order to get that business back on track, what they need is people in the office, people filling the desks, not dialing in from home, not using Zoom, but actually being there to work together. State governments have made similar decisions in recent weeks. And indeed, Sean, you made this point yourself, that the tide has turned, the revolution is over, and it will be fear that gets people back into the office, fear of missing out on promotions, fear of missing out on pay rises, fear of missing out on opportunities, the fear of being seen as a layabout slacker. They are my words, those last ones, not yours. But clearly, this is it. This is the end of work from home as we know it. It is my nomination for favourite story of the week for many significant reasons.
Because you want to get back into the office?
No, it's for its economic impact, for its effect on productivity, for the timeliness, the sheer timeliness and the topicality of it all. But mostly, above all else, it is my favourite story of the week because it didn't fit into any other category.
Very good.
Oh, dear. Well, I actually have a favourite story of the week that matters to me and to you and to Adam.
Mm-hmm.
It comes from minor Rio Tinto. It's one of Australia's biggest companies, biggest carbon emitters as well. It doesn't have a spotless track record when it comes to ESG issues. Remember the Yukon Gorge?
Mm-hmm.
So Rio emits carbon when it digs up the stuff it does out of the ground, iron ore, salt, bauxite, alumina, aluminium, and plenty of it, plenty of carbon I'm talking about. In an effort to reduce its carbon footprint, it's bought 3,000 hectares of grazing land near Townsville in Queensland. It's going to plant 750,000 trees. The idea is to harvest the seeds from the trees, they're Pongamia trees, and refine their oils into a form of renewable diesel. That diesel, in theory, will power Rio's trucks and generators. What I kind of found interesting is the background of this. Like traditional fuels made with oil extracted from underground rocks, biofuels actually release carbon into the atmosphere. I didn't realise that. But they're considered neutral for the climate because the carbon in biofuels was sucked out of the atmosphere originally by the tree. So the burning of the biofuel doesn't release any additional carbon into the atmosphere. Therefore, it's neutral. Didn't know that. Thought that was really interesting. This is either a great way to reduce Rio's carbon footprint or slightly disingenuous. I'm not quite sure. Like there is one thing about the sucking of the carbons out. So you're not, I suppose it's neutral. It's not reducing it, but don't know. Just
Still burning a fuel, isn't it?
Yeah. But I get that the fuel they're burning, they've actually taken out to begin with. So it is neutral.
Absolutely.
Then, yeah. Anyway, I don't know why Rio actually picked the Pongamia tree. It's native to Australia. It can proliferate in the northern half of the country. I looked up a few facts about it. Southeast Asia, plenty of Pongamia.
Last week, you entertained us with facts about bananas. This week, we're getting facts about the Pongamia tree. Whew, here we go.
But it's got these medicinal purposes. I didn't realise. So many countries...
Like the banana, Sean.
Well, it is. Good point. The banana, you rub the banana skin on your teeth, they go whiter. That's all we heard.
A sunburn treatment with the skins?
Well, the Pongamia is good for skin diseases, apparently.
Is it? It's
good for ulcers, for diabetes, for rheumatism, for piles.
It's a cure-all.
How do you apply it to...
Well, you got to climb the tree first.
Oh, God. Find a nice branch.
And watch the world go by. Anyway.
What's that guy doing up there? Don't look at him, children. He's fixing his piles.
It's a treatment.
I got to get out of this story now. Anyway, I just love the story. 750,000 trees, Rio being, kind of creative in how it's becoming carbon neutral. And then all those facts about the Pongamia tree. Over to you, Adam.
Okay, look, work from home is not over. I understand what Amazon's done. I get it, but no, it's not over.
Yes, Michael. Yeah.
So Sean has to win, and then I loved
glorious.
It becomes Sean's apothecary. These bananas last week Pongamia trees this week.
They all treat skin diseases. That's what I love. Every single natural remedy seems to treat skin diseases. Don't know why. Bananas do. Pongamia trees.
Great competition. Very spirited and fun. Sean, 2.5 to 1.5, Michael. And the points were 93 to 90.
Oh.
So very close.
And I mean, the fact remains that, and I'm not harping on about anything and I'm not kind of fixating on anything, but Sean, you should have been disqualified right at the start.
And I'll just mention that you got the point, even though I won. Yeah. Which actually does, Michael, would you agree, makes the 90 to 93 an odd score?
Yeah, how did I get so close when you
that's right.
when you demolished me in that first round? Who knows? I don't think we'll ever understand the judging of this show.
My judging mystique.
But you know what, Adam, with your permission, we might post your score sheet.
Oh, God. Look, it's a scrawl today, but yeah, you're free to post it.
On Instagram, Fear and Greed Podcast. We'll put it in a story maybe, and you can tell us what you think of Adam's judging. I'm not inviting criticism. I don't want to incite a riot or anything here.
Oh, no. Let's go.
Well, let's not rule anything out. If you want
Instagram
to mutiny,
pile on.
Yeah, join on in. All right. Thank you very much, Adam.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you very much, Sean. Make sure you're following the podcast and please join us online on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was Fear and Greed. Have a great weekend.